Once upon a time, in the heart of Atlanta, Georgia, there lived a young man named Jamal Carter. He grew up hearing the same line over and over again. People like you do on to make it to the top. And being the smart kid that he was, he took these words to heart and believed them. After all, he had nothing going for him. No fancy connections, no Ivy League degree, no one opening doors for him. All he had was hunger. While other kids his age were busy playing video games and hanging out on the street corners, Jamal could be found in the corner of the library with his nose buried in a business book. For the first time, he questioned if he was chasing a fool's dream. But then, a surge of determination coursed through him. He was tired of being overlooked, tired of being underestimated, and most of all, he was tired of letting others define his limits. He sent them thoughtful notes outlining his goals and asking for advice. To his surprise, many of them responded, offering guidance and sometimes even an hour of their time. He was confident, articulate, and brimming with innovative ideas, but he kept everything under wraps, waiting for his chance to shine. One day during a team meeting, whispers started circulating around the office. Jamal listened intently as his colleagues discussed rumors of layoffs, dwindling profits, and investors pulling out. It seemed like his company was on the verge of collapse. Some suggested restructuring, others urged selling off parts of the business. Jamal listened, offering his own ideas and building alliances. He was no longer the timid young man they had known. He was a force to be reckoned with. His voice was steady, his words precise, and his vision compelling. The board members exchanged glances, each contemplating the weight of what Jamal had just presented. The tension was palpable, and Jamal's heart raced. "Very well, Mr. Carter," one of them said finally. "You have convinced us to give you a chance. We will back your plan with full authority." He knew that he had just been given an extraordinary opportunity. Under his guidance, the company underwent a dramatic transformation. He stopped and asked, "Mark, what are you doing?" Mark looked up, surprised to see Jamal. "I'm leaving," he said simply. "I have another job offer." Jamal nodded, understanding. "Good for you, Mark. You deserve it. Together, we can spread Jamal's inspiring story and motivate others to pursue their dreams. And if you're hungry for more stories like this, stay tuned. There are many more amazing stories waiting for you. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep chasing your dreams." Then he paused, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "But if you change your mind, you know where we are." Mark smiled back, touched by Jamal's generosity. "Thanks, Jamal. I might just take you up on that." Costs were cut, new revenue streams were developed, and the company started showing signs of recovery. Jamal's leadership style was a blend of decisiveness and empathy. He made tough decisions when necessary, but he also took the time to understand the concerns of his employees. Now he had to prove himself. The board's decision was a testament to his hard work and dedication, but it was just the beginning. He had to execute his plan flawlessly. He couldn't afford any mistakes. But remember this, you have much to prove. Jamal's heart pounded with excitement and gratitude. "Thank you," he said, his voice echoing with sincerity. "I will not let you down." Finally, one of the board members broke the silence. The company's financial reports showed steady improvement, and the board of directors lauded him for his success. But for Jamal, the greatest reward was the respect and admiration of his employees. They had witnessed his journey from a young, ambitious salesman to a visionary CEO, and they were proud to be a part of his story. "Mr. Carter," he said, his voice echoing in the hushed room. His journey from a library bookworm to a successful CEO wasn't easy, but his determination and thirst for knowledge paid off. Jamal's story is a beacon of hope for anyone who has faced adversity. It's a reminder that with hard work, dedication, and an unquenchable thirst for learning, you can overcome any obstacle and achieve your dreams. Your plan is impressive, but why should we take a chance on a young executive with limited experience? It was a direct challenge, an attempt to discredit him. But Jamal was prepared. He had anticipated such reactions. "With respect, sir," he replied calmly, "I may be young, but I believe my fresh perspective and extensive research make me uniquely qualified to lead this company through a successful turnaround. I am not just a young executive with limited experience. I am a leader ready to take on this challenge." He spoke about new markets, untapped potential, and operational efficiency. With each word, he gained their attention. He knew that this moment was crucial. His future, along with the fate of the company, hung in the balance. The silence stretched, each second feeling like an eternity. Suddenly, another board member spoke up, his voice firm. "I second that notion. This young man has shown us a vision that we cannot afford to ignore." A wave of agreement rippled through the room. Jamal's confidence grew. He had captured their attention. He was no longer the nervous young salesman. He was a leader, a visionary. Fear and uncertainty filled the room. But Jamal saw an opportunity. He had transformed from a young, ambitious salesman to a savvy, knowledgeable businessman. He was ready to take on the world, but he needed the right opportunity. These mentors became his confidants, sharing with him insights that only came from years of experience. He had come too far to quit. Now, he would not let this setback break him. He reminded them of his insights into the company, the problems he had observed, and the potential solutions he had brainstormed. The investors, impressed by his foresight and knowledge, agreed to meet with him. One day, while he was engrossed in a book about sales, a group of his peers walked by, spotted him, and burst out laughing. He devoured books on finance, marketing, and even legal contracts. He proposed a plan that involved a complete overhaul of the company's operations, focusing on new revenue streams and cost-saving measures. Around him sat the very people who had overlooked and underestimated him for years. They were the decision-makers, the gatekeepers of his future. He looked at their faces, etched with years of experience and success, and knew that this was his moment. This was the culmination of his years of hard work, sacrifices, and relentless pursuit of excellence. The investors liked his plan, but they had one condition. They wanted him to present it to the board of directors. He wanted to know everything there was to know about running a business. At night, he studied until the early hours of the morning, fueled by coffee and his burning desire to succeed. He wanted to be the smartest person in any room he entered. He attended networking events, industry conferences, and even some MBA classes, soaking up knowledge like a sponge. "What's so funny?" Jamal asked without looking up from his book. They saw him only at office parties where he would occasionally join in, but always kept a low profile. They admired his professionalism and respected his work ethic, but they had no idea about his quiet rise to brilliance. They saw the shy, unassuming Jamal from the sales department, not the brilliant strategist he had become. Despite his good grades, none of the local colleges offered him a basketball scholarship, which was what he had hoped for. So he worked odd jobs to pay his way through college. He was a model employee, but his heart wasn't in it. He was waiting for the right moment to make his move. Throughout this journey, he heard countless rejections and criticisms. People told him he wasn't smart enough, he wasn't connected enough, he wasn't good-looking enough to succeed. But he held on to his dream and pushed forward. He studied hard, worked multiple jobs, and never lost sight of his goal to prove everyone wrong. "Oh, nothing," one of them sneered. From that moment on, the office became his second home. He was the first one in the office and the last one to leave. He studied every sales record and broke every single one. For 2 years, he lived for his work, pouring his heart and soul into it. And finally, the recognition he had been waiting for came. The company announced a promotion, a reward for outstanding performance. Everyone was thrilled, and the entire staff showed up for the announcement. When they said the name of the new manager, the room erupted in applause. Except it wasn't Jamal. It was Mark, a guy from finance who had charmed his way through the ranks despite having mediocre sales numbers. Jamal felt his dreams crumbling. As he watched Mark being congratulated, he couldn't help but think, is it always going to be like this? Is my skin still the problem in 2025? Just seems like some of us are actually trying to get ahead in life. Instead of acting white and burying our noses in books all day, Jamal ignored them and went back to reading. But those words, acting white, echoed in his mind, and for a moment he questioned what he was doing. Maybe they were right. Maybe he didn't belong in that library. Years passed, and Jamal graduated high school. At 25, he landed his first big break, a sales job at a reputable tech company. That night, Jamal drove home in silence, his fists clenched on the steering wheel, staring at his reflection in the rearview mirror. Instead, he channeled his disappointment into action. He started studying how companies operated, not just from the outside, but from within. Meanwhile, his colleagues at the office were oblivious to his transformation. As Jamal immersed himself in his studies, he also began reaching out to mentors, business leaders he had admired from afar. In the meantime, Jamal continued working at his job, putting in long hours and making valuable connections. 3 years went by and Jamal was a changed man. And then it came unexpectedly. After the meeting, he discreetly started making phone calls, reaching out to the very investors he had cultivated relationships with. In the following weeks, Jamal met with several investors, each discussing strategies to save the company. The climax came when Jamal managed to convince the investors to give him a chance. Jamal stood in the boardroom, the epicenter of power within the company. He started his presentation, outlining the company's problems and presenting his plan for a turnaround. By the end of his presentation, the room was silent. The board members murmured among themselves, their voices a low hum of discussion. Jamal stood patiently, his gaze steady and unwavering. The board members turned back to him, their faces a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Jamal walked out of the boardroom, the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Months went by and Jamal proved himself to be a capable leader. One day, while walking through the office, Jamal spotted Mark packing his belongings. As the months turned into a year, Jamal's reputation as a brilliant leader grew. Jamal Carter proved that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Sometimes the person you overlook might be the one destined to outperform you. If you enjoyed this story, please share it with friends and family.